You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Hey, you. What you doing? Scrolling? Doom scrolling? Looking at other people's vacations? Miami, San Diego, Cancun? Okay, what about you? What places will you go? Expedia is the one place you go places. Your trip can earn rewards which you can use towards your next eligible stay. Soon, people will be doom scrolling you. You'll be that friend's friend, but with rewards. What are you waiting for? Expedia, the one place you go places. Terms apply.
I need the help of a comedic professional here. Okay,
go ahead.
I keep having comedians come in here and do this, and I go dive right into the deep end. I go into craft, or I go into their past and their pain, and I just need this one to be lighter. I need this to have more range, because I can ask you about your past, and we can make it biographical, but I just need your help making the feel of this energetically lighter.
You just don't want a downer show today. You're feeling like an up show.
Well, I want to grow. I want to grow this show. Like this show, this show is a platform. It's been a good platform for comedians, for people to get to know them. But I also want them to have range, because I have an interview style that just goes straight in for the deep end. Like I'll go with you. I'd start. What was it like in 1995 to find out that your parents divorced and your mom was a lesbian? I'll go right there.
Yeah, that's fun. I'm pretty much over that by now, so it's good. We could do that.
But I'm just saying, I dive into the deep ends instead of like just doing what I should do now, which is saying, you know him, play hopscotch with me.
Go ahead.
You know him from Old School. You know him from Blades of Glory. You know him from Semi-Pro. You know him from Community.
Yeah.
You know him from The Daily Show, Ballers, The Bookie. Or it's not The Bookie, it's just Bookie. The Holiday Inn commercials.
The Holiday Inn commercials? Yeah, that might be on my IMDb, but I never did a Holiday Inn commercial.
No, you never did it. Oh,
no, I would love to. I would jump at the chance to sell Holiday Inn to people, because I love money.
But you've been in a lot of stuff, and you've been in a lot of stuff that people remember. I don't know what it is that they come and talk to you about. I don't know which are the ones that they most often come to you and say, this
probably Hot Tub Time Machine.
I didn't even mention that.
Yeah, probably Hot Tub Time Machine. I'll get like a Lugal across the street. Somebody will say Lugal, and or they'll be very serious. They're really trying to be fun and funny, but they'll go, "Hey, I looked up the weather today on Lugal," and I was like,
"That's
right." The fictional Google from the movie, Hot Tub Time Machine, right?
That's your legacy.
It's it.
Yeah, it's not.
That's it. I got to dodge shit like that.
Did you imagine, like, your wildest dreams didn't look anything like this, right?
I don't even know what my wildest dreams were. Like, I considered myself a pretty serious Shakespearean actor when I first started out, and so.
You were going to be a thespian.
I was going to be man. I graduated from theater school, and I went to New York the next day, started doing Shakespeare, and I was like, this is it. All I need to be making is this $200 maybe for a show, and I'm good. I can feed myself and just do the important work that no one gives a shit about. I can say that, right?
Yes.
All right, good. That's
let it fly. Let go.
Good, because yeah, and
so you were going to be dreams looked like dramatic actor in the mold of whom? Like who are we?
Like the Brits, like Patrick Stewart before the Star Trek.
So you were going to do it stuffy, and then you end up on the set of Semi-Pro.
But then again, exactly right. I was like, whenever I would do Shakespeare, I didn't notice this until later on, that I was just always playing jackasses. I was always playing the clowns or the fools or douches. Yeah, people that would trip over stuff. So it was kind of in the cards for me. I would just I realized the one thing I wasn't good at was auditioning, right? was one thing we weren't taught. And so I just went out on every single audition I could to get better at it. And this was, 30 years ago in New York. And I auditioned for a sketch group and got it. And that was sort of my first foray into comedy. And then,
but when you're auditioning, you're doing so as a thespian, right? You're not. Do you not find yourself doing the funny? You don't.
I went in. I did everything. I would audition for things that like were asking for black disabled women. I absolutely anything, right? Like just for the practice of it. And I would get some crappy things. I started booking stuff, and the sketch group was one of them. And it wasn't a good sketch group by any means, but then I found the UCB and blah, blah, blah. All went from there.
So one of the things that I like to do with this is ask creative people sort of how it is, the roots of how they became creative. So when you go back into your childhood on the things that you were going to do and how it is you gravitated toward the arts, how did that happen?
Well, I always wanted to be a writer. But I didn't really know how to do that, because growing up, you're taught how to do certain things. You have like, I fancied myself a pretty good writer, right? So I would write these stories, and I was really into Stephen King at the time. And I would show them to my mother, and she was like, yeah, this is a great example of plagiarizing Stephen King. So keep going, I would just
so
be
you were writing horror, and you were you were just discovering that you liked to write, and you were emulating the person that was in the house.
I'm really good at writing in the voice of whatever I'm reading. So I know that if I'm actually writing something for, a TV show or something, never to be reading anything at the time or to be watching anything that is remotely close to what I'm writing, because I will probably accidentally plagiarize.
So your mom's accusing you, instead of support, it looks like plagiarism.
Yeah,
to her.
oh yeah, that was she was very good at that.
And so you discover that you like doing this, and how is it that you end up wandering over to a stage? And
I always thought I was arrogant. I thought like I would watch something as a kid and I would say, I could do that. Like there's that I don't really believe this person, in my rudimentary life. I didn't have the language for it, but I was like, I don't quite believe this actor. I could do that. But again, there was I'm from Weymouth, Massachusetts, right? There's no sort of, it is not realistic to want to be anything but, a pipe fitter or a mailman or something, which is, I would have happily done that. But somehow I stumbled into like a theater program at my college, and because my friend was like, you can do that. And I did it. And
were you charismatic? Were you a big personality? Were you theatrical?
Maybe a little too much, like a little, I had this very good friend that I met through the theater, and then we became friends again a couple years later. And she was like, I was really surprised because you seem to have really chilled out a little, because I was, just throwing balls up all the time, just trying to land jokes.
Were you looking for attention? What was the need? You just like the laughter? You just
yeah. I mean, I still do. Clown? I still do. I was a class clown, but I was respectful. For the most part. I didn't want to get in trouble. I wasn't like a bad kid. But I would at my most comfortable when I was trying to make people laugh.
But the root isn't insecurity. You were arrogant. You felt like you could do it.
I could do it.
You felt like you could do it. So
yeah. It wasn't about insecurity. It was insecure. I felt insecure when I wasn't getting the reaction I wanted, and I felt like I could read a room pretty well. Much to my deficit, actually. Like I would sort of take on the feeling in the room, and be like, oh, everybody in here is very uncomfortable. And so I'd start to get uncomfortable, and I'd have to like scramble to make the room feel better so I could feel better.
Well, what was happening there? Like, why are you the one responsible for that?
Well, here's what was happening there. Nothing. Like I was a kid, like, or in my 20s even, and how do I know what the fuck people are thinking or feeling? Like, it's just, I was probably feeling a little uncomfortable, and then I just, read that into everybody else for whatever reason.
So what represents your big break?
The big break, I mean, it depends, because I've always thought of like success as, I got a tour once, a Shakespeare tour, and I traveled across the country, and I was making fairly good money, like $350 a week, and I was teaching classes on the side to these colleges we were performing for, and it was terrible Shakespeare we were doing, but like I didn't know that at the time. I thought it was amazing, and that I considered like making it. I thought, well, I made it.
There's something to be said for the idea is success is getting to do it.
Yeah, success is getting to do it, and like it keeps changing. Professionally speaking, I guess The Daily Show would be my first big break. That was the first time I was really on TV. I'd done commercials, but other than that, like
Holiday Inn commercials.
Yeah, Holiday Inn commercials. You look at my IMDb, half the shit on there I did not do. I was like apparently the bald guy in The Nanny.
Yeah, you
never
didn't do
did
that.
that.
Well,
No.
that's just because you're a bald guy, right?
Like
that's just
funeral
a lot
goer.
of
I think I
people
was-
like you.
yeah.
You did James Carville and something.
Yeah, right. It was probably Stanley Tucci.
Yeah,
And a young Stanley Tucci.
How does this happen, though, that you get what needs to happen for you to get to The Daily Show?
So I was in that sketch group I was talking about, and I did this sketch that I had written where I got to do a bunch of voices. And I fancied myself at the time being like a real voice guy. I'm not at all. I'm not like
it sounds like arrogance is a consistent theme.
Right?
You think that you fancied yourself a real voice guy, even though you're not a voice guy. I can do voices.
My wife was she was a speech pathologist. She did dialect coaching for a long time because everything in LA is pretty much funneled through the entertainment industry. So she was doing that, and she was like, "Yeah, you're not good at accents," and it blew my mind.
You thought you were great.
I thought I was. Yeah, I thought you just give me an accent, I can do it.
Sounds like you're delusional. Like it's not quite arrogant.
Yeah. Well, I think, man, I think so. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, arrogance and delusion are one and the same to a lot of.
So, but you're doing voices and you're doing them well.
Or
you think you're doing them well enough to be noticed?
The ones I had written for myself, I could do. Like I was doing like Woody Allen, the imitations that everybody was doing, right? And then so this voiceover agent, casting director rather, saw me. And she called me in for voiceovers and stuff, which I never really got. I wasn't very good at that. And
as we've established.
Yes, it's not my thing, man. It's not my thing. And I did that, and they happened to be doing Daily Show auditions at their office, Liz Lewis Casting, and she said, "Come on in and just do this audition. I think you could do it." And I worked my ass off on it. Like, I loved The Daily Show. I used to watch it when I was working at Jekyll and Hyde. Mm-hmm. You know, there's this thing in New York. Have you ever seen those restaurants? They're like theme restaurants.
They have their costumes or.
That's right. I was one of the costumes. I was like Dreadworthy, the wisecracking butler, and.
I mean, I imagine all of the waiters were aspiring actors of some sort. Yeah,
sure. And but my job was just walking around insulting people. I didn't have to bring them any food or anything. But anyway, I watched The Daily Show.
I bet you were good at that.
Oh, I was great at that. I was great at that. You want to hear one of my best jokes?
Yes.
I would go up to a table of 6, and I would go, "Oh, look at you! You look like $1 million. 6 zeros."
And you really brought him back to life. You really summoned the real spirit.
Dreadworthy will always be a part of me. I was in New York the other day, like a couple months ago, and I was walking past Jekyll and Hyde, and there was a butler outside getting a smoke or something, and I saw his nickname, and it said Dreadworthy on it.
Nice.
And I said, I just walked past and I went, "Dreadworthy?" And he goes, "Mr. Corddry."
Oh wow,
That was pretty cool.
That is pretty good.
That was pretty
right?
cool. But anyway,
no, I don't think I want to leave there. I think I want to. I want to interview him about some of his other lines.
Oh, man.
Like you have a few of them.
I don't remember. That was the only one I remember. Because it's like that's like a Don Rickles joke, right?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
It's really bad, and that was all they asked of me. They didn't say like bring your A game.
Right.
They were just like, just insult people.
And so you take that character into the Daily Show. And
no, I watched the Daily Show on my lunch break there. That was my ultimate point. And so I was really into it. And these were the Craig Kilborn days, and then Jon took over and I got the audition and I was like, I can do this because I know I can do the news guy. And so I really, really worked my ass off on it. I would put my script up against the wall in my bedroom and pretend I was talking to Jon in my bedroom and, working out a couple of bits.
Because you were this close to something you knew you wanted, right?
Yeah,
like
that's
you
right.
Were just very
this is one that I was just like, I'm going to get this. I'm not going to. This will not be any through any fault of my own if I don't get it. Wow,
that's real confidence, though.
Well, it is work. I mean, I just like putting that much work into it. I know it's at least I did everything I could to get it. It wasn't so much confidence as I was aware that anything could happen. They just might not be looking for a guy or a white guy.
Are you aware, though, that anything also could happen after that once you get that opportunity, or are you looking at that as a destination? Are you saying, if I can get this is something I can do forever?
No, I just thought this is – I had no thought about that, really.
So what's your plan, though? Like, what if you were going to be a thespian before and now you're –
At this point, so once the Shakespeare thing – once it became obvious that this is not really my jam, that I should probably be doing comedy for a while, I decided I'm just going to let the wind blow me. You know what I mean? And that's sort of what I've been doing ever since.
Well, how do you come about that, though? Like, that's a good way to interact with the cosmos if you're a spiritual person.
Yeah, I guess I'm just more like I know, I trust that it will happen, and there will come a day when it stops happening. I also am aware of that, That's the sort of trick. If you don't work for a while, you can start convincing yourself that, like, that's happened, and it's over for you. So
that can happen in this city, like, especially if you have any undercurrent of insecurity.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it can really, anything can be your last job ever, or at least, until you have your comeback when you're
Well, I always assume
80.
that's how the agents controlled this entire city, is because they were preying upon that insecurity.
Yeah,
that the
probably.
the whole system of it can keep you feeling always far away from the next job because there are only so many jobs and there's so many people who want them.
For sure. And then when you do finally get a job, the thing nowadays that you hear almost all of the time is now, okay, this is going to be a 4-month gig. No one's getting rich off this, because they're just not. There's been a big correction where actors don't really get paid as much as they used to. So it's more like
the industry has collapsed and is being run by about 5 companies, and they can pay whatever they want because everybody wants the job.
Yeah, and they're coming up with models, different models, like The Pit, that wonderful show, right? Mm-hmm. They pay people one of 2 salaries. You're either getting $35,000 an episode, or you're getting $65 or $75 an episode, or you're Noah Wyle.
They've totally market corrected everything using all the hedge fund knowledge of where it is the inefficiencies were, so they can run you out of Hollywood.
They're all quants now. They've got it. It's all an algorithm. Yeah, essentially.
So you feel, though, very fortunate because none of this has yet happened to you, but it sounds like you sort of not bumble into, but it wasn't part. You weren't chasing that. It came to you.
It came to me, yeah. I was very, this is like you make your own luck in a way. Like I'm just putting myself in a position where luck can happen to me. And so far it has.
In sports, championships aren't won alone. They're won with the right people around you. That's exactly what Intuit TurboTax brings to taxes. With TurboTax Expert Full Service, match with a dedicated tax expert who handles your taxes from start to finish. The experience is seamless. Start in person, finish online, move between both whenever needed. The dedicated tax expert keeps things updated every step of the way so nothing falls between the cracks. Think of it like having a great head coach with a solid game plan. The plays are called, adjustments are made, and the work gets done while everyone stays focused on what actually matters. And just like game film doesn't wait for business hours, neither do taxes. With TurboTax Expert Full Service, you can get any tax question answered at no extra cost, even on nights and weekends during tax season. This is having someone in your corner running the whole operation and helping put points on the board. Get started at TurboTax.com. Only available with Intuit TurboTax Full Service experts. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app.
DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, is built for March. The tournament is unpredictable, but the rewards are guaranteed. And DraftKings is delivering some of the most generous rewards in the market. New to DraftKings? Bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code BEACH. That's code BEACH to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets instantly. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org on behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas. Wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
And so what did the dreams look like walking into there?
Into the Daily Show?
Yes, like that when you're out looking at your future, you don't see movies in it, no?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I was just going to do this show the best I could. And I didn't go out I got hired, I wasn't on the show for about 2 weeks. And so I just sat there and I watched raw footage for 2 weeks. I just watched hours and hours of raw footage just to see what these, like, you know, those field pieces looked like in real life, you know, rather than with all the editing. Have you ever
wanted anything like that before? Because you're talking about such a clarity of vision where you're seeing where you can. I'm going to be so prepared for this because I want this more than I've ever wanted anything.
No, I have not since or before that. No.
I mean, what a watershed feeling, though, right? To have sweep over you. This is right for me.
It's pretty awesome. I mean, I kind of long for it, you know. Now, I mean, this last show I did that I'm promoting, sort of the Audacity. I had a very similar feeling. Like when I read the script, I mean, the very basic way I like to say it is that it just sort of fit in my mouth. You know, that's like when you get a script that fits in your mouth.
It's a graphic way. It's also a little pornographic.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah.
It's kind of gross.
Gross.
I could chug this down. But I just, if it fits in your mouth, you don't have to do any fancy like footwork to make it sort of your own.
I think we could leave it now.
No, I want to really think about this. Like when your tongue and lips can really wrap around.
This with you anymore.
Okay, all right.
You're making me deeply
You wanted
uncomfortable.
to get real,
You're
man.
disgusting.
You're
disgusting me. I should have mentioned to the people before this, the Audacity premieres April 12th on AMC and AMC Plus, and you're not just promoting it. You're coming on here and saying to me with a straight face, not as an actor, not as a comedian.
I
You're
wasn't
saying
sure
the only time I've ever felt as good as I felt the one time I knew exactly what I wanted is with this thing I happen to be promoting here today.
Well, no, it wasn't exactly the same. I definitely have had that feeling before. That sort of like, well, I don't have to do any fancy, improv or anything to make this my own. Like in Ballers was different because frankly, the writing wasn't really that great. So we all sort of had to rewrite it on the fly a little bit just to make it sort of sound like something people actually say?
I didn't. I was on Ballers. I'm your fellow co-star on
nice.
Ballers.
Of course you were.
No, I got a sentence of dialogue.
Yeah.
What's the end game spent is what I got as dialogue. I was a cigar store Native American, stiff. I didn't know how to do any of what it is that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it very much because it was like 9 hours to deliver that one line 40 times.
Sure. Yeah,
It didn't seem like
it's not a lot of fun, right?
No,
it's not a lot of fun.
And, I mean, it looks nice. I guess the best parts of it are pay, being on it, and getting to exercise creative muscles. But in this particular case, I wasn't exercising one. I was just saying the same thing over and over again.
You're saying that one thing
while smoking a cigar. Yes.
There's not a lot you can do with it too. That one. What's the end game, Spence?
That's all I had. Well, I was asking Dwayne Johnson about all of his dreams going forward in the series.
Right.
But I couldn't summon anything other than what's the end game.
I can't think of anything for you either. Like, that's actually a pretty well written line, for Ballers.
But I mean, it was very popular show because it sort of sports it up, and HBO Entourage. It sort of and threw Miami at it, and Dwayne Johnson, and
it was definitely like realistic. I read sports articles a lot differently after doing that show. That when somebody says, he's got a ACL, torn ACL, like I realized, oh, that's just not this one thing. This a whole family is affected by this, or a whole entourage of
so you learned something about the underbelly of sports.
I sure did, man. I sure did.
It's dirty. It's a dirty game. It's a wildly
really
dirty game.
Dirty world.
They give their bodies, they give their entire bodies to it. They earn it. It's more of a meritocracy than this place is.
And of course, but also the managers and the agents. Like I was playing a manager, and it's
greasy, despicable, yes man.
Yeah, horrible. I mean, luckily my character was kind of a horrible guy, but a lovable horrible, I hope.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of that on there. That's what you were going for. But forgive me, I've wandered off into your later work, and you knew you wanted this one thing, and it became what you thought it was.
The Daily Show.
Yes. Like it. Not only did you get it, but it looked like what you imagined. It met your expectations.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. It was very challenging, and a lot of actors say that, like, I'm looking to be challenged, and I didn't really know what that meant until The Daily Show. But, Stephen Colbert was sort of my mentor there, and he would I don't know if he knows that, but like he would give me little pieces of advice, when you're going out to do those field pieces. He's like, let me tell you, when I was doing my first one, he said, you're going to have to hang your soul up at the door. And then when you're done, spend your per diem, have a couple of cocktails. Meaning like, you're going to need to get a little drunk after these, because they were brutal often, depending on who you were interviewing. But that I liked being in the studio more than I liked doing those, because they were really kind of taxing, especially when we were doing them. We only had one camera.
What is it? Is it because of the expectation of funny? Because people don't actually know how hard it is to just be guerrilla on the road doing something and interacting with your environment?
Well, you go in prepared for sure. You definitely, you and the producer are writing out your ideal story that you want to come back with. It never really happens that way, which is kind of the magic of it. You come back with whatever you got. But I mean, the hard part, the challenging part about it was we only had one camera at the time. That was all they could afford. So I would be interviewing you, and the camera would be on you, and I'd be asking you these, very real questions, and then I'd be asking you some of the Daily Show-ish questions. And everybody likes the Daily Show. Nobody thinks they're going to be the bad guy, right? And then the camera would turn around on me, and I would re-ask all those questions,
right? Just
so we have them.
Correct.
But I would do them in a more pointed way, like, you knew exactly what you were doing when the blah, blah, blah,
right.
And they would go pale.
Yes.
And they would sometimes stop the interview and be like, wait a minute, wait, did you ask me that before? And I'm like, yeah, I asked you that. technically asked you, and maybe not that way, but
you're tricking people. You're out here. You were at the center of gotcha journalism that ends up becoming fake news and bringing down the entirety of this country. But at the time, or roughly around that, Jon Stewart was regarded as America's greatest newsman because of what that show was doing.
Yeah, I mean, to his chagrin, I mean, he was really just wanted to do a comedy show that had some relevance, but like, yeah, I mean, people just started. And then I remember news guys would come up to us, Jake Tapper for one, because he's a great example, because he actually ended up doing a lot of what The Daily Show was doing. He's a great journalist, and he would say, he said to me once, like, I wish we could do what you guys do. And I'm like, what exactly do you mean? Like, what? Why can't you do why can't you like say, here's what somebody said, and then show a bunch of video that contradicts them. And that is exactly what journalists, good ones, are doing now.
Oh, yeah, but it was just both sides and objectivity and fairness, and it's why comedians were allowed to run amok with your format, because you were able to make fun of everyone, including the Jake Tappers being beholden to not being allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah, well, we were like making fun of we were more making fun of the way news is delivered than we were.
But that was the genius of the show is that you guys, through comedy, did real journalism that was more impactful than the starch stuff that was happening on television.
Looking back on it, I can admit that, it was it's very close to what journalism is looking like today.
But you're right when you say, why couldn't you? It's just that's why it was groundbreaking. That's why the show ended up being the cultural icon that it was.
Yeah, Fox guys used to come up to us, too, like at the conventions and be like, hey, man, I love your show. I'm not really a Republican. I'm like, oh, man, I don't care what you are. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
That's the most sinister version of it, though, right? I'm wearing a costume while doing the talking points that are actually divisive with no sense of humor.
While doing the news,
Yeah, well, but I mean, that grift has gotten over on the entirety of America as newspapers and journalism dies at the feet of the billionaires, which you are celebrating in the Audacity because
I guess so.
I'm assuming that everyone in here is awful because it's about the billionaires.
Because they're all billionaires. Yeah, I'm probably like the one with the least money on the show, my character. But yeah, it's just a bunch of billionaires doing awful things in the name of good, but they're really not. They're just.
Is that why you love the project so much? Because it's of our times? Like when you say it fits in your mouth, which I wish you hadn't said and I haven't been able to shake since you said it.
I'm glad that's going to stick with you.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
That's the mark you leave.
That you'll never probably forget that. Yeah. My hot, wet mouth and the words fitting inside of them like, oh.
I will never forget this. I will never forget this.
Oh, the script.
But the billionaires are awful. And they're awful in real life and they're awful on the show as well.
Yeah. And it was kind of like what they were doing on the show, the Audacity is it's a story about like the very, very near future, what we will be capable of, or what they will be capable of, which is basically knowing everything about where you are and what you're doing and be able to cater advertisements to, curate advertisements for you in the moment and stuff like that.
I'm surprised more people aren't weirded out by the fact. Like I have now, my devices are clearly listening to me. It seems obvious that they're.
Yeah, I think it's worse than that. I don't know if your devices are listening to you. Actually, I heard this podcast once, and they were like, "I wish it were as easy as your device is listening to you." It's actually all these like Facebook and Amazon algorithms about you and who you follow and who follows you. So they know you so well that they know that you want this swing set or whatever it is that you just talked about yesterday, and now you're finding ads for it. predictive, you know? It's really insidious.
It's science, and what you're saying is that this show is teaching you about things like that, the way that Ballers taught you about the underbelly of sports, like things you probably hadn't considered before.
I hadn't quite. I mean, it was stuff that you know that there's really no such thing as privacy, but you know that in sort of intellectual terms, but in practically speaking, like, I don't know what to do about that. You know, I use a VPN when I have to or whatever, but like I don't, there's no, what I learned is that there's no real protecting yourself from any of this stuff. If you're living in the modern world and buying stuff on Amazon and, you know, you have some kind of a
footprint,
social media footprint. Yeah.
One of the things that I imagine you enjoy about your work is the escapism and being able to hide in laughter from all of America's ills.
Yeah, but then again, I find myself just confronted by all these ills when I'm doing these shows I really love, you know? Boy, on The Daily Show, I had there was a time, and I've never been like a news junkie or anything. I was watching 2 C-SPANs at once. 2 different C-SPANs, which are just like the security camera of news.
It sounds like you were a beast, though, about ambition. Like what you're presently describing in terms of the obsessive compulsiveness, because I don't know that you're necessarily type A, but
no, for sure.
That you're zoning in on something that has so cosmically aligned with your brain, who you are, and who you think you want to be, that you're like, there is no circumstance under which I'm not going to serial killer obsess over getting this.
That's exactly right. And then when I do get it, I go deeper into it.
Because you got it, and now you're hungry and you're grateful, and the world opens up to you because all the things you thought were there are actually there.
Right. If the show happens to motivate me in that way, like The Daily Show or the Audacity or even Ballers, you know. There's some shows I do that I'm just like, well, I know this. I know how to, I'm the weird neighbor, or I'm the
Well, but especially when you get typecast as a douchebag. But in these,
right. I played different shades of douchebag.
But you're talking about real inspiration. What you're describing is real artistic inspiration, and you didn't find it in Shakespeare. It wasn't. It's not this kind of inspiration. No, well, it wasn't for you. When you're saying it wasn't because you weren't good at it, there wasn't something in there that was stirring this.
I was stirring this for sure. It was stirring, I was an English major too at the time, and that's what it was stirring, you know. And it was stirring all the wrong things for an actor. Like, you don't want to tackle a script like an English major tackles a piece of writing. You know,
no, it's stiff.
Yeah. So, but that's often what I did. And
but plays, the act of Broadway play, all of it, there's artistry in it, but that's a script memorized to do every night that way. There's a ritual in it that's architecture, not art.
Yeah, and that doesn't really interest me at all, you know, doing that. I it's so funny to say that, because I thought that's what I wanted to do, you know, and I really can't imagine that schedule and just doing the same thing over and over and trying to make it new every night, you know.
I had a moment in my collegiate career that sort of crystallized what I wanted to me, because my father was an engineer, because there was safety in the meticulousness of choose one of these things that's safe: doctor, lawyer, architect, and I'm writing for the newspaper, and he doesn't want me to be. He doesn't approve of this as a choice. And I'm not going to say I'm wavering in my conviction, because I know now this is what I want. But as I'm walking past the architecture school, and at 1:00 in the morning, they're always up there doing this.
Making triangles.
And I'm like, I don't want that. I don't ever want to do that. But it sounds like it could have been very easy, if you're doing Shakespeare, for you to get forever trapped inside of a profession that's not actually you.
It's very funny you say that, especially in terms of your father, because my father was very supportive, whatever I wanted to do. But I was a very artsy kid, and he was an engineer. He was good at math and building bridges. So he was he always tried to sort of steer me in a way that would be a lot safer. If I wanted to be a writer, well, why don't you be a technical writer? You could write manuals, and like I appreciated it, the reason that he said that. Of course, I didn't want to write manuals. I do like reading them. I love an instruction booklet.
But all he's looking at there is what my father was looking at, which is how are you going to make money doing that? Who's going to pay you for your thoughts? Who's going to pay you for your talent?
Yeah, I definitely think he was very surprised when, my brother and I both found some success in this business. Like, not surprised like, wow, you guys, I thought you were bozos and you couldn't do anything. But like, more like, oh, people can do this. Like, there are people that I guess it has to be somebody, right? Because like, again, growing up where I grew up, there was no frame of reference for that.
Well, wow, that's funny.
These people may as well have been, robots.
Well, now you've just pointed out to me, though, what my dad couldn't have possibly understood. He didn't come from freedom. Like it's a communist island. Like he lived in Cuba. So why would he have any understanding of the idea that anyone could make a living doing anything as impractical as writing?
Exactly. Like anything that the government doesn't just say, hey, you can do one of these 3 things. Yeah, wild. That's
writing
wild.
manuals would have been a way for me to get money writing.
Yeah, sure.
Because everyone needs manuals, but not everyone needs to read a sports section.
I was a journalism major for like a day.
You failed.
I didn't even start. I failed before I even started classes. I got to college and I was like, wait, what is journalism? Like, what am I doing? I wrote for my school paper, but that was like a school paper. I did like the poetry.
Did you really last one day in journalism?
I didn't even start it. I changed my major to English because I realized like I don't want to write research real things and write about them. It's funny, I didn't even realize what I was doing when I chose the journalism major.
What a funny crossroads, though, to reach where you end up on the Daily Show of all things. I don't want to do that. I want to do it with all my
being
skill
a fake
set
journalist
and with a voice. I'm going to trick people into thinking I do good voice work. I'm going to do an assortment of things to scam my way into journalism.
It happens all the time, man. It happens all the time. Like I was on Top Gear America for 2 seasons, and somebody told me like, after our first day shooting, like, oh, you're a car journalist now. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm a car journalist. Like, it's what a weird world.
Well, but it sounds like you're having a lot of opportunities, but the place that weird cosmic opportunities presented to you.
Yes,
but
that's how it seems.
But the starting point, like I imagine the maniacal work ethic of The Daily Show goes with you, right? Like
for sure. Well, it was on the shows like where I really sunk my teeth into it, like the Audacity. I was cast, and then there was 2 months before we shot. So all I did all day long for like 8 hours a day was research this character in this world. And like, by the end of I had a 27-page biography for my character, which with one word could be completely wiped away by a producer with an idea, right? But like, you sort of, I knew that, but like I just couldn't stop myself. I had to know everything about this guy and what led him to this moment where he was in Silicon Valley.
So you make it sound, some of what your success is, you're making sound like it has some bumbling in it. But but wait, no.
Okay, go ahead.
What you're presently describing is once you've chosen something, no one will have a larger appetite for work ethic about it than you.
Yes.
Once it speaks to you, you're not doing lazy things at this point in your life.
The bumbling is over when I get something. Yeah, for sure.
But it sounds like you're a maniac about it. Like unreasonable, where your family would be like, well, they would understand you and love you, but also he's away, he's thinking about this thing, he's got one of his obsessions now.
Well, it was more like the producers. Yes, that for sure. But they love my wife is just so supportive of it. She's like, all right, yeah, you're doing your thing, and now all you're talking about is the Army. And,
right, because it consumes you.
Because it consumes me. And then all I'm doing is watching shows about the Army and movies about the Army. And then I get on set and they're like, no, you weren't in the infantry. You were an engineer. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's an easy fix. That like you can't be too precious about this 27.
Are you kidding me? That you haven't had something like that happen to you where you weren't obsessed for 6 months over something, and then Adam McKay says that's not how we're doing this.
Yes, absolutely have. And you know, it's so funny because at first it messes you up, right? You're like, well, then I have no idea what I'm doing. But and then you'll fight for something that doesn't need to be fought for when I can just say, this guy who wrote the show knows way more about my character or what he needs to get my character to point B. So I'm going to listen to him and make the adjustments in my,
What is the greatest example you can give me of pouring your soul into 5 months of something and then you get on set and it is altered with a word? Because you said it as
it was really that. I mean, it was, I said, okay. So I have, the character has PTSD and I had, and an injury on his leg. That is in the script. So I knew, all right, I had to get there, so I wrote this whole thing about how he was shot in the leg, helped save somebody, and then just ran, essentially ran back to and got lost in the desert, and this whole story.
Haze of shock.
About, right? And then they were like, you were a prisoner of war, I found out, like episode 4 or 5. I was like, oh, well, that changes absolutely everything. I thought at first, but then I got back to my bio and I was like, oh no, I jumped in this earth mover and we drove out in the desert, and of course I'm going to get captured out there. If we got lost, which is actually what happened to a lot of people during the first Gulf War. There were like 6 people taken prisoner, and in my imaginings now it was 7, including my character. But they were only captured for like a week. And so I just went off. He told me I was a prisoner of war, and I was like, all right, I just adjusted my biography. I've learned over the years to like not be too precious about it, to like have it all sort of like a piece of clay, like it's malleable.
America leads the world in medicine development. It matters. We get new medicines first, nearly 3 years faster. 5 million Americans go to work because we make medicines here at home. And not relying on other countries keeps us safe. But China is racing to overtake us. Will we let them, or will we choose to stay ahead? When America leads, America cures. Let's tell Washington to keep us in the lead.
Learn how at americacures.com. Paid for by pharma.
Is there a place among all others that you would point to as, and that's where I learned that? And that there is the spot where I learned
that's a good
to not
question.
be
That's a really good question.
So precious about how I think things should go.
I'm trying to think of where
it may have been over time. It might not like just shine light on something and change your life like that. But it's I've read you say that it was only 5 or 10 years ago that you got good at saying no. Right? That's fairly deep into adulthood that you're learning how to do that, but you're learning it somewhere. Something's happening to finally say, okay, that's not the right way to be anymore.
Right. I wish I knew what that thing was, because there's a great power in no, and there's no power as an actor, and it's your only power is to be able to say no. But we're just brought up to like always be saying yes and always just do whatever they give you and whatever they want you, which is what you've dreamt of, people wanting you to do their thing and to pay you. And so it is a hard adjustment when you realize that like some things I just shouldn't do, and some things it's better off for everybody if I don't do it, because I will watch the movie, say, afterwards, like it was 40-Year-Old Virgin. I had a great audition for that, right? And I was like, I'm not going to get
role?
this.
Which part?
It was for Jane Lynch's part, Steve Carell's boss.
The manager.
At like the Best Buy, right?
Yes.
And I was like, I thought I had a good audition, and I was like, I'm not going to get this. And I couldn't really put my finger on why. But sure enough, I did not get it, and Jane Lynch got it. And so this is not really about being able to say no. This is having somebody say no to you. But like also being able to watch that and go, well, I am not Jane Lynch.
Right. They had a better idea for what they wanted.
They had a great idea, and I would never have been able to do that as much justice as she did, you know? So I guess it's kind of like, that's like a backdoor way of
I imagine you have a few stories like that, right? I would imagine, maybe not quite like that, right? But just this thing is so flimsy that can go in any way. There are a million things that makes a movie successful or not successful, and largely not going to be you, right? Like it's not going to be solely you that makes it either way.
There was a show, a very, very popular show out that I read the script of, and it didn't really, I hesitate to say fit in my mouth again, because I know that makes you very visibly uncomfortable.
You're triggering me.
Your eyes do this weird thing where like one closes.
Coming, though, and then now I'm scared of it every time I look.
Yeah, it's almost like you get dizzy when I say it.
I can't stop looking at your mouth. It's bothering me. It's bothering me.
I have a very pretty mouth, though.
Don't do that.
Okay,
Don't do that.
Fair enough. It's your show.
I feel violated.
And I said no because it just didn't feel right, even though this was going with it looked like it was probably going to go and be a very popular show.
You knew it was going to be.
No, I didn't know. I just assumed like this is show. Bill Lawrence was the producer, and he has a pretty good record. And I think I had another show in the works that wasn't as good, that I was like wondering whether I should do that too. And then so then I said no to this show, and then this other guy got the part, and it made me immediately feel like, okay, I made the right decision, because this guy's awesome, and there's no reason I should have been doing that show. And also I got Ballers. You know, it just so happened that I have a casting friend. I went to college with this woman who's a casting director, and she said, hey, we're looking at you for Ballers. And I was like, okay, what's Ballers? You know, and then I just got it. So everything sort of, if you trust that sort of being able to say no to things that, you know, you as a younger you probably would have said yes to, that it's still, you're saying no for a reason. Something else will present itself.
Why were you so careful with all of those names? I feel like the story, and then the story you were telling probably.
I don't know. I felt weird saying like I was offered something before the guy that made it famous.
Okay, but you're not saying. But I want the visual. Well, I want. It's not just nosiness. I want to know, because I want to see the visual difference between I'll like Jane Lynch and you, for example.
I'll tell you, because I think I've even talked to Ty Burrell about this, who actually got the role, and it was Modern Family, you know, and so it's like they asked me to do it, and I said no, and they got Ty Burrell, thank God, because he's perfect for that part, you know. I went out for The Office, the American version of The Office, and that's one I really wanted. Right, because I was a big fan of the British version, and it was Parks and Rec. Sorry, it was Parks and Rec. So
another Mike Schur show.
Same idea, right? Mike Schur, and it was for Ron, what's his face, the boss, the the one that
I'm not going to get his last name right.
Fucking, he's a good friend of mine. Now I'm like blanking on.
I'm going to insult Mike Schur by not knowing what it is you're doing here. And now we're both going to drown, because Mike Schur took great pride in naming the characters ridiculously, giving them ridiculous.
I can't remember the last name of the character.
I don't.
But
we're going to get stuck here?
Yeah, we're going to get stuck. No, forget it. Let's move on.
The Modern Family one is great.
The Modern Family
you missed out. The way that you told the story, okay? The way that you told the story
very
leaves
carefully.
But leaves out the details that you are now not on one of the great television comedies of all time. You're leaving that detail out. Yeah. Like it is a legitimately exceptional show played flawlessly by him.
By Ty Burrell, right? Yeah. Yeah.
You ruined the story by not giving the right details.
Well, I felt like could I get away with not giving the details because maybe the details might offend some people. I don't know.
It ends up with you as the punchline. You miss out on the.
I mean, that's a good point. That is, you're making a great point. I probably should have just told the story like it happened.
Have you had your heart broken more by like pouring yourself into one of these and missing by this much? Like,
I don't know, because I don't know if I'm pretty good at doing the mental gymnastics I need to do afterwards to sort of justify it, because I can't remember a time when I'm like, oh, that could have been me.
Well, but it just sounds like you've got a great, I don't know if you're this way in the rest of your life, but to have life come at you at work in a way that you're just sort of accepting, you want things, but if you don't get them, you're not judging yourself, you're not personalizing it, you're not saying I was inferior or insecure. It feels like this entire place is run through the insecurities of the vanities that these agents prey on.
I've been very like, it doesn't really affect me. Like, I can read reviews too. And I can read reviews that are poor. And
coldly, like a robot, unemotionally, you could read it and be like, I know more about what I just put into this than this person does.
I don't believe them. I don't believe delusional. Them. And listen, I don't know. This is not delusion. I don't believe it when they're complimenting me either.
That's a great attitude.
So I don't believe any of it.
But do you realize how good that is for your mental health? That right now there's a whole couple of generations coming up on their reading everything that's being said about their every performance.
There's some people that are so disciplined about that. Like, they don't read anything. They don't read the reviews. And because they're so afraid of how it's going to make them feel. Rightly so, I guess. But, I mean, I just don't. I don't believe.
I'd like to do a segment with you in the future where I don't have it in front of me. I'm not prepared for this, but where I read you the cruelest things said about your performances.
It'd be great. It'd be great.
And you would just eat it?
Yeah. I love it, like, too, on Twitter. Like, when I used to be really active on Twitter, people would insult the hell out of you. And it would just kind of make me laugh. Like, there was one guy who would insult me, and he was good. And I kind of like, there were times when I believed him. And so then it becomes not an insult, it becomes a note. Like, he's right about that. That's something I could do better. You're
the only person in the history of the internet to go there for constructive
I'm very good. I'm very good at taking notes. I am. I'm very good at taking notes. And also, like, it was if somebody compliments me too, and I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't ring true to me. Or if it rings true, that's a nice compliment. I'll take it. But something has to ring true.
But it also feels like this is what you're articulating right now that I don't think is normal in a place that has this much vanity in it, is some form of, I don't care what you think about me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I want to be cast. I want people, you know what I think? I want people to like me. Just so I can get jobs, because I think that's ultimately what it's about. You see all these people who aren't necessarily that talented, who work consistently, and I think to myself, that person must be a great guy. People just want to work with him because he's fine, but he's not like tearing it up. Or this guy must be a jerk because he worked consistently and then you don't see him anymore.
Well, there's great value in that, though. There's great value in having someone in the environment that everyone just likes, especially if you think you can get 40 actors to do something reasonably similarly.
I don't know if I follow that. Say that again?
If you're all other things being equal, and I feel like for this seventh part, if I don't give it to you, I give it to somebody with a similar skill set who will bring something good to it as well. Right. Might as well have that guy not be an asshole. Might as well have that guy. Like, I want the guy. He might be less good at it, but if if people are going to be pleasant to be around him and they like that he's going to be a professional, like that would have value. It'd be like a locker room guy in sports.
I think this happened when I was doing Children's Hospital, when I was putting together Children's Hospital, which is this like tiny, barely a show on barely a network. It was on Adult Swim, which is half a network, and this was a 11-minute show on Adult Swim, live action, and we did it for 7 years, and I realized then that like the only goal that's worth having in this business is to surround yourself by people you love or expect to love, and just try to write an original joke. Which is near impossible to do the original joke part, but to surround yourself with people that you like or will like or want to like or know are likable, that's really one of my only criteria, really. Do good shit with people who aren't dicks.
So was The Daily Show the start of that in terms of an environment? Because these are all dysfunctional environments.
Yeah, no, these people, I'm also not a very good judge of character. So maybe these guys are dicks. I don't know. I liked everybody on The Daily Show, and I think everybody was really good at their jobs, and I didn't have a problem with anybody there. But like,
you might have been so happy to be there that you wouldn't have noticed.
I couldn't see my...
so as you get later in your career, and I just imagine some of these places can be furnaces, that if you're not surrounded by a bunch of people that everybody likes each other, or if it's a competitive... In fact, Bill Lawrence explained that to me one time about, he was talking about the difference between writers' rooms and the ones that can be loving versus the ones that can be competitive. Yeah. He often gets better out of the competitive ones, but who wants to live there, right? That's not going to feel loving.
No, I don't. That sounds terrible to me. Like all the writers' rooms. I led a writers' room for Children's Hospital for a couple of years and really tried to foster a like team environment, and I didn't want any sort of competition. I don't feel comfortable with competition. I don't really feel it all that much.
Well, so some of the people that we're talking about here in terms of creative. So imagine that Mike Schur, Parks and Rec in The Office, gets to Saturday Night Live as a 23-year-old writer because he's that good. And he thinks he's good, and he's obviously good. And the head writer of the show is the 26-year-old Adam McKay, right? And so, like, and these are two different people, and I happen to think that both of them are lovely people. Yeah. But as with all the ego in the early 20s and insecurity of the early 20s, I imagine that could have been wildly competitive in a way that was unfair. 5% of the jokes are getting on air, and you've always been the best because both of you are prodigies, but you don't know that he's Adam McKay. You don't know that he's better than you at writing. He's just the guy who's in charge because he's 3 years older than you.
Boy, that's funny you say Saturday Night Live, because it's one of those things that like everybody sort of aspires to be on Saturday Night Live when they're doing comedy. And being at the UCB Theater, we would do auditions for SNL, Lorne came to a show once and we were all nervous and like, we got to get on Saturday Night Live. But looking back, I really never had any stronger aspirations than that. Like, well, that'd be a job. That'd be good. That's the place, right? But I don't think I would have succeeded in that environment. I think that the competitiveness and that show is sort of built around, they haven't changed the format of it since the 70s. And it's been like, so it's just like cocaine writing schedule, and I don't know if I would have been able to. I would have been one of those guys that would have been off in a year,
Because you don't think you could have just handled an environment that wasn't warm, wasn't loving?
I think so.
Wasn't you couldn't perform your craft in a place where people were being Wall Street ambitious?
I don't think I could match the level of competition that everyone, I suspect, is.
Yeah, it's the best in comedy. All the people from Upright Citizens Brigade, they were all trying to get to that one place.
Yeah.
It was the only place like it that existed.
Right, exactly right. And it's also a ticket, right, if you get on Saturday Night Live. And that's sort of, I guess, what, if anything, interested me was that. Well,
I would think, though, that you would have seen the possibility in that getting to The Daily Show.
So it was the 2000 elections, right, that sort of catapulted The Daily Show into that level of, being a ticket for actors. And so when I joined,
have known it at the
time. Was
time.
right at the beginning of that. So it was a big show and popular, but it wasn't what it became.
Okay, so you helped make it that, right? Like you.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, maybe.
But all of it, all the things you guys were doing. Look, whether it's Rogan now or Johnny Carson or Saturday Night Live, there are only a handful of places where in this time you're talking about where comedians could break out, where they could be seen by everybody. It's not like
and The
now.
Daily Show definitely became that. It definitely became that when I was on it, and I just chalked that up to luck. I mean, that was, thank God that happened, because, I mean, it was an adjustment to leave The Daily Show and try and do other things, because a lot of casting directors were like, well, you're Rob Corddry.
Well, how did this happen? So explain this jump to me. Do you insist on growth here? Like, how long are you at The Daily Show before you're
5
saying,
years.
and so it's a furnace the entire time you're working like crazy, right?
I'm working like crazy.
Total lunatic? Like, are you balanced or?
Yeah, I think so. I had also just gotten married, so I was really more into my wife than I was into anything, and planning on starting a family. And so we were like, I just luckily had this great job that I was working, it was like 9 to 5. I mean, there's really no other job like that. And every once in a while you'd have to go out for a night or two to interview people, which kind of sucked. But other than that, it was a great place to be. And then there is a burnout on that show, because, my last year, I didn't do any, I renegotiated my contract, and I was like, I don't want to do any of those field pieces anymore. Stephen Colbert is gone. All the big studio guys are gone. I want to be the guy in the studio. So I was the guy in the studio for my last year, and I had a blast, because that is just fun. Because you get to improvise with Jon, and he's such a good laugher. Like he will laugh at your improvs right there on TV, which is really satisfying. And so that was fun. And then I got a job. It was Seth MacFarlane's first live action show on Fox. It was called The Winner, which, in retrospect, is a terrible name for a show because you can guess what our first review said. The winner's a loser. The winner is a loser, right? And it was really it was a good show, but
it's Seth MacFarlane having to learn some of the things he would have to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And we were, our Ricky Blitt was our showrunner, and he was one of the funniest guys I've ever met, still is to this day. And and it was a show about a guy who was sort of he was an agoraphobic for most of his life and never left the house, and then he finally decides to leave the house for the love of this girl that he's going to pursue, and then becomes best friends with her 14-year-old son. So it was like 3 episodes into the show when the producers finally realized that they wrote a show about a potential pedophile, And so we were gone after 6 episodes. It was a big blind spot.
Nobody saw that before.
Yeah. And of course, my character was fucking the hell out of him. What? You get really uncomfortable at the weirdest things. You get very squirmy at all I said was, no, he was a very good, it's all he knew. He was a 14-year-old, he was himself. So I did that, and then I didn't have a job for years, and I was poor and living in LA with a 1-year-old child, and that was that. And then there was a strike too at that point. So what's the matter? You haven't recovered yet? I was trying to go on and kind of push you. I was pushing you through this moment.
I was desperately hoping, okay, that I could sit here silently and just be quietly appalled and amused by a successful pedophilia joke, and that you would have kept going like we began the episode and would have just told me of all of the traumas that you had during this time of your life. And I was hoping that's how the episode would end.
I wouldn't have told that joke if I hadn't been workshopping it for years and knew it was a pretty good one. You know, because you can joke about anything, but it's got to be good. So I, you know,
in these times,
of all the times,
in these times, that's the joke you pulled off. There's a degree of difficulty of that. The Audacity, AMC and AMC Plus. This was a delight, sir. Thank you man. Thank you for taking us on the journey of your life.
This was great. This was a lot of fun. Did I pass?
I mean, you nailed the dismount. You nailed the dismount.
Oh, good.
You nailed. Yeah.
We're going out on a pedophilia joke.
I mean, aspirationally.
Yeah.